Hello, this is Mary Roddie from Charing Cross Hospital in London and the UK OsiriX user group. This is the second revision tutorial for delegates from the recent Imperial OsiriX masterclass held at the Royal College of Radiologists, and this tutorial is going to cover image optimisation, and the areas that we will cover will be cropping images, rotating and cropping images, separating combined images, combining separate images, and finally annotating images. We will be using OsiriX Lite version 6.5, and if you remember, during the last tutorial we imported several DICOM images and JPEGs, and what we're going to do now is go to Richard Boutoun's X-ray of knee, and if we look at the frontal image we'll see that it is not very well cropped. Now, in order to crop an image we use this tool here and we choose the rectangle, we select the area that we would like to keep, and we use the shutter tool, and that gets rid of the area outside the region of interest. Often when we do this the image gets a little bit more magnified, so we're going to demagnify it a little bit, and you'll remember from the course that unless we export this cropped image as a new DICOM file we will lose the changes. So we export to DICOM the current image only, as displayed in 16-bit black and white, and we will call it AP knee, and we press OK. And when we look at our list of series as well as the original uncropped AP, we have a new image, and so we can then backspace and delete the original image. The next task is to crop a rotated image, such as Richard Boutoun's ankle view. So if we open up the frontal view, you can see that it's rotated as well as badly cropped. Optimising such a case has to be done in a two-stage manoeuvre. So the first part of the procedure involves rotating the image, and then this image must be exported as a DICOM file. So we will call that AP ankle, current image only as displayed in 16-bit black and white. So now we have a straightened view of the ankle, we now can crop it, and we do exactly the same as we did before with the rectangular ROI, and use the cropping shutter tool and then export this as a new image. And remember, it doesn't matter if we keep it the same name. You can have as many images called exactly the same as you like in the series view, and we press OK. And when we look at the series view now, we have the initial view that was straightened but uncropped, and the second image that is straight and cropped, and the original one that was obliqued. So at this point we can backspace and delete that image, and also backspace and delete this image. The next task is to revise how to separate a single image, such as this wrist, which has both the AP and lateral view on one image, but both rather badly cropped. To convert this single image into two straightened and well-cropped images requires several manoeuvres. Let's concentrate on the AP view first and straighten the image here. We could also magnify it a little bit and move the image of the wrist into the middle of the screen. We now can export that as a new DICOM file and call that AP wrist. Current image only is displayed in 16-bit black and white. We'll now do exactly the same to the lateral image, so we'll reduce the magnification a little bit, rotate the lateral image so that it's straight, bring it into the middle of the screen and magnify it up a little bit, and we will now export that image as lateral wrist. If you look at the thumbnails, we now have a straightened lateral wrist view and a straightened AP wrist view. So if we open up the lateral, we can now use our rectangular region of interest tool to crop the image using the shutter tool, and we can export that as lateral wrist. And now we have a lateral view of the wrist, and so can backspace and delete the first image. We'll now do exactly the same to the AP view. So we'll use the rectangular region of interest tool, crop the image with the shutter tool, and export this as AP wrist. And now we can backspace and get rid of the uncropped image. And at this point, if we like, we can get rid of the initial two views by backspacing and deleting. Our next revision task is to combine these two images back into one image. And to do that, we open up the first view, and then either by dividing the screen into two, which will show the second image, or by right-clicking on the lateral view when the first view is open, we will get both images displayed side by side. At that point, we can slide the sidebars to get them out of the way, and what we want to do now is to get rid of the annotations and to optimize each image. So I'm going to magnify the AP view and move it into the middle a little bit more, and then click on this side of the screen to do the same for the lateral view. So let's move that across. So what we want to do now is to export this double view as a new DICOM file, and that's almost identical to what we've done before, with one important difference. So if we press Export to DICOM, we need to remember to press this button and click Include All Displayed 2D Viewers. And we can now call this AP and lateral wrist and press OK. Now when you look in your database window, you'll see that as well as the AP and the lateral view, we have a new double view which shows both the AP and the lateral in one image. Unfortunately, we get yet another not for medical usage logo. The final revision task in this section is to annotate an image with an arrow, as one would do for an anatomy test. And we do that by using a different region of interest, which is the arrow, and having selected that, we can point to whichever area of anatomy we want. You can change the colour and thickness of the arrow by going to the region of interest menu and selecting ROI info. Here you can select the colour of the arrow, and here I might want to choose white. And the other thing you can do is to change the thickness of the arrow, so you can make it bigger or smaller. In order to burn the arrow onto the image and to save it, we need to export the image as a new DICOM file, And this time it's important that we select as displayed in 8-bit RGB with ROIs, because the arrow is an ROI, and if we don't click that, the arrow will not be there on our saved image. So we can call this question 1 and save it as a new image. And you can see that we now have question 1 with an arrow. Now we may wish to move this arrow, and so we can point it to a different part of the anatomy and export this as another file. This can be question 2, and then we could move the arrow somewhere else and export that as question 3. If you look at the thumbnails of the series, we now have 3 questions in addition to our original 3 images. The final thing we're going to revise is how to reorder the series numbers. To put question 1 as the first image in the series, we go to the anonymisation protocol called reorder series, and we put 1 as the series number and press replace. We press OK, and now question 1 has moved to the first position in the series. To do the same to question 2, we highlight it, put in number 2 and replace, and question 2, and we can carry on getting all the questions in the right order. So that has been a quick recap of optimisation of single images. In the next tutorial we will discuss the importation and optimisation of large series of images. Thank you very much.